Welcome back, everyone. Today, talking about the breach of the T app, which I think is a fascinating story. If you haven't heard already, women's dating app T breached, exposing 72,000 images. A week after climbing to the top of Apple's free app chart, T, the women-only dating safety platform, dating safety in quotes, program that lets users rate and review men, confirmed a breach that allowed 72,000 images, including 13,000 verification selfies and government IDs, to spill onto the open web. As you'll see, they weren't exactly spilled, they were being stored on the open web. So personal info was kept in a public folder. T said it discovered unauthorized access at 6:44 a.m. PT Friday, so I guess that would be previous Friday, and traced the intrusion to a misconfigured Firebase storage bucket dating back more than 2 years, according to statements given to Gizmodo and CNET. Users on the message board 4chan had already begun sharing links to the trove, boasting that no hacking skills were required to rifle through the public folder. So I'm curious, can access be unauthorized in a public folder? I mean, maybe philosophically, if it's public, can there really be unauthorized access? I don't know. That's an interesting question. So yes, there were leaked images, verification selfies, and government IDs like driver's licenses and passports. And so yeah, the question is, why government IDs? Seriously, why were those on there? So this was part of the authentication process for its users. The cache held the very documents T demands to prove new signups are women: a face photo plus a driver's license or passport. Another 59,000 images came from posts, comments, and direct messages. T insists no newer data was touched and that the bucket had been retained to comply with law enforcement requests related to cyberbullying prevention. The company says third-party forensics teams are now working around the clock to secure its system. So yes, this was part of the authentication process, obviously to prove you were a woman because it was a woman-only app. So this story is more interesting because there was some controversy around the app. The app itself was controversial because of what it did. In essence, it was considered a doxing platform for men. So I looked that up to make sure because it's a little confusing and circular. It's a doxing platform for men, meaning not to assist men with doxing, but doxing of men, according to what this article was saying. Launched in 2023, T pitches itself as a modern whisper network where women can flag abusive or deceitful partners. The app rocketed to #1 on iOS this week after going viral on TikTok, attracting nearly 1 million new downloads, according to NBC News. That surge also drew hostility. On Thursday night, 4chan users called for a hack and leak campaign against what they derided as a doxing tool for men. Hours later, the exposed Firebase URL surfaced on the board, complete with instructions to get in here before they shut it down. So, again, I was curious more about this doxing for whom and in what direction, so I even asked for clarification on that. So, user-generated dossiers. T lets approved women post names, photos, and allegations about men they have dated. Because those men never opted in, critics argue the app crowdsources and publishes personal data that could identify or misidentify them, a hallmark of doxing behavior. Searchable reputation engine. The app's very purpose is to let others look up individuals and read unverified claims. That function aligns with doxing's goal of exposing someone to public judgment or retaliation. Ugh, this makes you feel kind of sick inside. So then the reverse of it, massive leak of IDs. T's recent breach exposed 72,000 images, including 13,000 government IDs, after the public Firebase bucket was found and shared on 4chan. Attackers needed no hacking skills to download the files, which is classic doxing. Private identity documents dumped for anyone to grab. So then that was kind of the reverse doxing, went the other way. This is kind of an interesting sort of battle of the sexes scenario here, which is interesting, like from a game theory perspective. Ironically, an app that touted safety to women greatly jeopardized their privacy. Obviously, that's the other ironic thing here. As one furious member wrote in T's own discussion forum Friday afternoon, the app that promised to keep us safe just handed our IDs to the worst corner of the internet. Now, in terms of safety, I can see that some victims of the breach may have naively believed that this was a perfectly safe thing to use. Now, my audience is mostly men, so if I could give some advice to women, it may fall on deaf ears. But if you are a woman or a man who has women in your life that you care about, generally the wisdom would be that maybe you should not outsource safety to strangers on the internet, because it would be safer just to not use an app. If you can avoid having to put sensitive information about yourself on the internet, it's best to avoid it. It is sort of unavoidable these days, as we have to use apps online mainly for the convenience, but maybe because it's easier. We'll have to upload documents to maybe the DMV or to the government if you're applying for something, or for whatever reason. So in some ways, it's unavoidable. I'd say in terms of safety, to avoid it when you can. So using an optional app, yeah, maybe better to avoid it. Reputation. So that's the other question here, is the reputation of a highly popular app. Will this stop women from using the app? Is all publicity good publicity? You know, somebody in the T marketing department must have said that at some point, that even though this looks like bad news, would it stop people from actually using it? People already play fast and loose with their data privacy. We know that. I think this will likely not turn people away. The app has reached a high point of popularity. The company assures people they're going to make it safe. And for some people, maybe they like the app so much, maybe that won't turn them away, or maybe they don't care. So yeah, I don't know if this would negatively affect the usage of the app that much. For app developers, is there sufficient incentive to invest in better security? Because when I first read about this unprotected public folder, it makes you wonder, well, somebody at the company probably stood up in a meeting and said, that's probably a bad idea, we should maybe close that down. And somebody maybe put it to the back of the agenda. Who knows? That's what happens in those kind of situations, I would imagine. So if people would use the app anyway, maybe there's not sufficient incentive. You would hope so, as a user, as a consumer of digital products. You would hope that they have every incentive possible to protect people from this sort of thing. But I mean, if people are going to use the app anyway and still play fast and loose with their data, maybe not, but we'd hope so. Well, anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. Fascinating story. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll catch you all next time.